So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's chart session. It's Sunday, April 18, 2021. So process review tayo today. So ang una nating discuss is I want to review yung concept natin on base structures. I want to make sure that everyone understands yung video lectures na pinadala ko sa inyo on base structures. Now, in case you missed it, um, punta kayo dun sa Toda watchlist channel natin. I posted several materials on base structures. The first one here is our videos from the IBD library. So it basically discusses how they think about how IBD or how William O'Neill thinks about cup bases, double bottom bases, flat bases, which all form part of yung category on base structures. So pakipanood kung hindi nyo pa napapanood. Sobrang sulit siya. And today we'll try to discuss, himayin natin kung ano ba talaga yung rationale for trying to find these types of structures. Bakit ba natin sila hinahanap at kung paano ba natin iti-trade itong mga to. And once we understand that, next thing that we need to do, once we understand how to properly contextualize and prepare for itong mga base structures na to, ang next step doon is to be able to scan for them, di ba? Paano ba naman natin hinahanap itong mga base structures na to using our model? So we'll discuss that. And then gagawin ko rin, papakita ko sa inyo yung pinaka-workflow ko from Quants to yung pinakita ko sa inyong hack ko on FinViz, where we use FinViz to get a snapshot of everything on our watch list. Isang tinginan lang, makita mo na kung sino yung mga maayos na itsura mga charts, sino ba yung nakakahatak ng volume for the day sa kanila, at para mas madali natin na pa-prioritize kung sino ba dapat yung tinututukan doon sa watch list na nabuo natin. And then, from FinViz, of course, ginagawa pa rin natin, from our watch list, we're still trying to narrow down yung priority list natin, at yun yung ini-import ngayon natin or dinadala ngayon natin sa TradingView. Para pagka nasa TradingView na siya, ang focus na lang natin is how to generate yung buy and sell signals natin using EMAs, using B-bands, using yung mga pattern rules na kinover dun sa IBD lectures na yan. So yun yung gagawin natin today. And then finally, kung hindi nyo pa nakikita, I also posted base structure cheats again from the IBD library. So they basically give you snapshot of some of the more popular variations, yung mga generic variations ng mga base structures na to. So nandyan yung cup with handle, double bottom, saucer, flat bases, square box, ascending base, high tight flag, yung pinaka we're trying to specialize on, at yung iba pang mga structures and rules na meron sila. So let's try to get into all of this today. So base structures. Ano ba tong mga to? Why are we interested in looking for base structures? Well, number one, you need to understand that when we talk about base structures, what we're really trying to look for are areas of accumulation. Merong mga stocks, aakyat, ang general rule, minimum of 20 to 30% na uptrend or momentum na generate over a period of time. Usually magkakaroon ng pause after yung akyat na 20 to 30% na yon. And then they'll start to form yung mga initial bases nila after yung 20 to 30% na pag-angat. So we're trying to identify yung mga areas of accumulation. And we're interested in these areas of accumulation because they are well-known continuation patterns. So not only are they areas of accumulation, it's well-known and well-documented that once the accumulation period for said base patterns is done and over with, ang natural tendency for those securities that form bases is to continue on with its general trend. So kung up siya 20-30% over a period of time, once it breaks out from those bases, ang break niya is to the upside. Kaya siya well-known na continuation pattern. Now, these continuation patterns, pag nag-break out na from these patterns, they can generate a lot of momentum in a very short amount of time. And usually they are accompanied with strong volume or nagkakaroon din ng volume breakout. So not just price breakout, they're typically accompanied by volume, spikes in volume. And the reason being here is because well-known yung ganitong klaseng continuation pattern na yan. And we want to be part of that crowd who's able to identify itong mga accumulation areas na to and to be able to benefit from momentum once nagkaroon na ng breakout dun sa mga structures na ito. Now, finally, we're also interested in base structures because it turns out that when you're able to define the parameters for kung ano mang base structure yung nahanap natin, the way we're going to risk manage our positions when we take on yung mga entries nila mas madali, mas well-defined yung mga parameters. Alam mo kagad if the base structure breakout or if the base structure, kunyari if front run mo yung breakout, you're trying to trade into a cheap signal, alam mo kagad na mali kagad yung trade or alam mo kagad na mag-fail kagad yung pinaka-base structure na tinitingnan mo. Dahil nga well-defined yung understanding and parameters on different types of base structures. Kaya natin sila gusto. So let's try to review yung mga concepts na meron na dun sa cheat sheet, di ba? So first one, the most popular one is, of course, yung cup with handle. So the cup with handle, may uptrend ka, generally 30%, and then it consolidates. Now, usually in consolidation na ito, mapapansin nyo dito, ano yan, talagang nagfo-form ng cup structure yan. Hindi siya jagged, hindi siya magulo, hindi siya madumi tingnan. Because what they're basically doing here is allowing sellers, whoever they are, an orderly exit within a 35% correction. So kung gaano man ka-aggressive yung seller na yan, yung mga sellers dun sa market, yung mga gustong to lock in their gains, orderly yung nagiging exit within this consolidation or within this base pattern formation. So sinasalo lang yan siya over a 7-week minimum to 65-week period. Now, we don't necessarily have to count the number of weeks. Babalik pa rin tayo dun sa concept natin ng higher time frame allowing us to determine yung pinaka-optimal timing kasi makita naman natin yung case transitions on higher time frame. Pero in terms of yung IBD framework, they say 7 to 65 weeks pwedeng magtagal yung formation ng cup consolidation na yan. So medyo maarte sila na there is a perfect way to form itong cup bases na ito. And there are imperfect ways of forming cup formations kung saan pag masyado siyang jagged, odds are the breakout is going to fail. May mga ganun sila mga nuances. And that once nagkaroon na ng turn or nagkaroon ka na ng established low on a cup, then you start looking for yung handle structure depending on how much magkakaroon ng retracement versus yung previous high na to. So kung makita mo kasi dyan, nag-base na siya dito, nag-pivot na, nakita mo na nag-turn na yung momentum na from downtrend, nagiging uptrend na siya, nagkakaroon ng reversal, nagkakaroon ka ng range dyan. And then, the way they think about yung mga cup structures kasi, hindi niya kailangan i-retrace all the way to the high of the previous run-up. Usually, retracement will occur 50 to 60%, magkakaroon ng mga 50 to 60% retracement, and then it starts forming a handle. So it would seem parang kung meron kang lower high versus this one, kung saan kaya medyo kakabahan yung mga tao na baka pag hindi pa sila magbenta at break even or near break even, baka bumalik na naman sa bottom end of the range. So at least that's the general psychology of it. Kaya hindi mo kailangan i-retrace to form yung handle portion. But that once magkaroon ka pa rin ng orderly transition or formation ng handle structure na to, usually 1 week, tapos yung range mo is pretty tight, 15% range lang from this point here to the low, mga 15% lang yung distance na pullback sa pag-form ng handle. The way they recommend trading this will be on the break of the handle portion. So yung BP na to, tawag dyan buy pivot nila. So they usually take it, ang pinaka-rule nga parang 10 cents above the buy pivot, yung pinaka-rule nila. Ganun sila ka-ok at ka-busisi kung paano nila trade yung handle breakout na yan. And then, usually pag nagkaroon ng handle breakout, may mini pause versus the previous high, but the acceleration will usually be much quicker dahil nga dito sa pag-form nitong handle portion na to. So, last of the weak hands na yung nandito. They get shaken out, or those who got stuck here will liquidate here because ayaw nga nila bumalik dun sa bottom end of the range pa ng cup handle. That's how we think about it. That's how they think about it. So, sabi rin dito sa literature nila is pagka ang cup consolidation is less than ano ba to? Sorry, handle consolidation 6 weeks minimum. So kung magkakaroon ka, kasi may variants eh. So ito yung cup with handle, and then the other variant is pagka ni-retrace niya all the way to the top here, and then it breaks the cup without forming a handle, then dapat mabilisan nangyayari yun. So without handle, 6 weeks yung pinaka-minimum na pwedeng mangyari yun. So 6 weeks consolidation and then break na dapat. Yun yung pinaka-concept ng cup without handle. Double bottom, same concept, 20% uptrend, tapos yung correction is 20 to 50%. Tapos it usually, yung tawag nila dito double bottom, the other way to think about it is zigzag siya. So, pag sinabi mong zigzag, pwede ka kasing mag-mark dito sa pag-form niyang to ng A, B, C, D. So, ang ibig sabihin lang nun, so meron kang A dito. So, ito yung pinaka-A mo. This is A. This is B here. C. Tas D. That's how you think about it. And then, the way they trade it is initially, yung recovery dito ng point B. So, yung mga aggressive traders, they will tend to try to pick it up on the recovery ng ng B line mo. So dito, that's the initial one. Usually, they put a margin of error. So they take on the trade slightly above the B point. And then lastly, they take the trade on the break of the C point. So ito yung C mo, they take it here. After seeing itong double bottom na concept. Now, the idea behind the double bottom is itong lower low here, yung lower low na nabuo dito. So, diba? This is a low and this is a lower low. This one here is a bear trap. So it's very similar to how Spyfrat thinks about his phase 3, yung greatest bear trap event niya. So ganun yung concept nito, kung saan yung lower low, akala mo breakdown, pero it traps the bears dito sa area na to, and they're forced to cover as soon as price gets back above this level here. And later I'll give you an example of how this pattern materialized in one of the charts that I was studying. So dito yung pinaka conservative breakout, yung mga sigurista dito na yan magte-trade Kasi established na naman yung double bottom and then they try to benefit from yung breakout na lang talaga. Other variants, so saucer usually mas ano siya, mas mababaw yung naging retracement pero same yung duration and then nagva-vary rin. Usually pagka saucer ang nangyayari mo dito, may breakout ka and then you have a high handle dito sa area na to. Saucer tapos high handle na pullback and then you get an opportunity to buy on the break of the high handle. Flat bases, ito medyo nakakatuwa to because it usually happens early on. So makita mo, uptrend ka, tapos tight consolidation over a short amount of time, and then ayan, 10 to 15% lang yung nagiging range. And later on, we'll discuss how we're always measuring yung extent ng pullback. We're going to have to measure yung extent ng pullback para nakakategorize na natin kagad kung anong klase ba yung dapat na ini-expect natin from a particular trade. And then there are some that would look like square boxes kung saan it doesn't test the top end of the range compared to yung flat bases na ganito. Nag-consolidate lang siya puro sa bottom end of the range and then eventually it breaks out without fanfare after nitong 4 to 7 weeks na consolidation. This one here, I don't have any experience and I can't think of an example right now of ascending basis. But apparently, later on, let's try to look for mga ascending basis na structure. Pero general idea, uptrend, tapos very choppy yung uptrend niya. Every time it hits a certain percentage gain, nagkakaroon ng retracement. And ang kinaganda lang dito is alam mo kagad that there is something here because it keeps on forming mga smile formations. So mini cups ang nangyayari. So smile formation, 10 to 20% pullback. And it keeps on going up. Dito rin papasok yung lesson natin na lagi natin din-discuss. You need to be able to discern kung kailan ba accumulation ang isang structure, kung kailan ba hindi. Marami mga instances, pag may nakikita ko mga nagpo-post ng mga charts, hindi ko nakikita na strict kung yung pag or tight yung pag-identify natin ng mga accumulation patterns. So kahit walang mga smiley structures tayo nakikita, we deem them qualified for certain base structure types. But later on, when we go through yung mga examples, mas makikita nyo na malilinis pala talaga yung pag-form ng mga base structures sa mga maayos na mga pwede natin i-trade. And that's what I want us to be able to refine, to be able to focus not necessarily on being able to identify na kung cup ba siya, double bottom ba siya, saucer ba siya, or whatnot. Ang mas concern ko, pag naghahanap tayo ng trades, kailangan nakikita natin talaga in very clear terms na, uy, merong kang smiley faces. Because when we see smiley faces, that means orderly exit by sellers. As opposed to makikita tayo mga jagged na kung ano-anong mga structure na ganyan. Disorderly yung mga ganitong klaseng patterns. And odds are it's distributive, or odds are even if it breaks out higher, hindi magiging maganda or suabe yung breakout. So again, focus tayo sa mga malilinis na mga accumulations, yung mga smiley na structures na yan. Now, the other set of patterns, and this one we've discussed previously, itong mga high tight flags na to, kung saan maikli lang yung duration na inintay natin, and we've capped yung mga pullback nila at anywhere between 25% for less than 25% for high tight flags, or 20% nga yung cut-off natin for high tight flags. And then for TODA bases, up to 50%. So very similar pa rin dun sa cup base structure na discussion earlier. Pero ganun pa rin. We're focusing on the magnitude ng correction after strong uptrends. And then we try to figure out how to properly trade them using our understanding of higher time frame frameworks. Now there's this very interesting example here of a base structure kung saan akala mo meron ka ng cup structure at nag-breakout siya ng ganyan. There are examples kung saan yung breakout na to, instead of it forming a high handle, di ba? So meron kang cup, nag-breakout siya without a handle, instead of it forming a high handle firmly above the breakout point, there will be instances kung saan it will break back inside or below yung breakout point niya. And not only that, it will also break the low of the previous cup consolidation, only for it to turn, form a smiley face structure again, and then break out higher. So meron akong papakita sa inyo example kung saan ganito nga yung transition niya. So I guess yung pinaka-message ko lang dito is that when we're trading itong mga base structures na to, know that they can fail, but even when they fail, we need to be able to continue to track them and prepare for itong mga pullback setups na ganito kung saan nag-undercut siya below the previous cup structure or base structure, but it respects mga key moving averages. Like in this particular case, yung pinaka-framework nila is they use the 50-day moving average. So they're still able to capture yung eventual breakout niya higher.
Oh, wait a second. Before we begin tonight's lightning round, I want to congratulate...
Sorry. So ganun. So we'll try to cover that. And then, ano ba yung mga miscellaneous rules nila? So ito yung nabanggit ko na to, yung buy pivot mo, 10 cents, slightly above yung breakout point. Ideal uptrend before the base structure is around 30%. I'm not going to focus anymore on their rules kung paano nila binibilang yung volume because we have our own methodology for volume. Pero meron silang way of counting on their own volume. There's also this rule about yung undercut ng base resets base count. If you look at yung isang pinost kong lecture, pinakita ko sa inyo doon kung saan there are typically 3 to 4 base structures that you will see in a general uptrend. And so sila, pag nagkaroon ng undercut, so dito nagkaroon ka ng undercut ng ganito, nare-reset yung base count daw according to their framework. So later on, we'll try to refine yung understanding on resets on base counting. And then they have yung mga caveats on base structures kung saan pag nasa mga third or fourth base ka na, kasi as bull markets mature, as trends mature, while we're still going to be able to spot and scan mga base transitions na ito, there is an increasing probability that by the time you're on your third or fourth base structures, meron ka ng higher tendency to see these base structures fail. So yun yung mga caveats nila when trading base structures. But for now, we're just trying to refine our understanding on how to identify base structures and how to scan for them, how to trade them, and whatnot. And I'm just going to have to go back to why we're doing this. And again, we're doing this because we're interested in areas of accumulation, We want to be able to benefit from yung continuation patterns nito because they can generate a lot of momentum and volume on breakout with well-defined risk parameters. So I hope klaro yung conceptual framework. So let's try to go now through some examples on base structures na ito. And later on, we'll move on to how to scan for them using our models. Yeah, so ganun gawin natin, ha? Let me just change screen. So, I want to discuss first mga examples para nagkakaintindihan tayo dun sa conceptual framework na binigay ko na sa inyo. So, one example that I have right now and one that I recently traded is itong si Levi's na ito. So, there are two immediate structures here that's worth looking into. The first one is yung nangyaring transition dito. Dala. So this one here is an example of a high handle. It's a cup with high handle structure. So this is the uptrend. Sa immediate leg na lang muna yung susukatin natin. So yung immediate uptrend niya was a ilang percent to? 30% uptrend followed by a pullback of around 12%, and then yung pullback na to, orderly exit ng mga sellers, slowed pag-ayos ng EMA alignments natin. Dito na yung pinaka-buy signal if we're using our EMA buy and sell buy trigger natin. So nandito yung pinaka-buy signal mo on EMA crossover here. Meron ka rin dito na EMA buy signal. So ito yung EMA buy signal. This one here is an EMA alignment change. So makikita nyo naman dito. From D, nagkaroon ka ng transition to A. So D, EMA D transition during that pullback from an uptrend, and then A transition here. So two buy points in terms of our EMA signals. So first one here, 4 crosses 8. This one here, transition from D to A, and then breakout from the cup. No handle transition. Shallow yung pullback niya dito. Breakout niya was here, 5%, and then pullback 6%. Held yung breakout point niya na yon before eventually moving higher. So that's the first one dito sa chart na ito. The other one is a very good example of a pullback. So you have cup structure here, failed breakout, did not form a high handle or unable to form a high handle. Failed breakout here, lower high. And then yung breakdown niya after that formation, undercut yung previous cup handle or at least approximated it. And then it reversed and moved higher again. So yan yung structure na nangyari sa kanya. So dalawang structure meron dito. Jeff is another example. So dito naman kay Jeff, ang meron tayong example is a flat base. So flat base here, uptrend, 30%, 28%, flat base 6.9%, breakout from a flat base, and then it retraces back into the flat base before forming this V-shaped reversal cup structure without a handle. Tapos nag-breakout siya, Right now, we have the same thing happening here. This one parang squared box siya. Doesn't really matter if it's squared box or another cup structure. The point here is well-defined yung parameters mo. Alam mong you can take the trade here because meron kang square box dito sa area na ito, or you just wait for a breakout above this level here, itong area na ito, yung susunod na breakout point mo. But if you want to front run it, again, the parameters are well defined. It's been acting well behaved. So every time it forms a base, it breaks out higher and higher. MO, ito yung example ko naman na mabibigay sa inyo on what do you call this? Yung double bottom na structure. So uptrend from the low, transition into our range. Tapos ito yung pinaka A, B, C, D structure mo. So let's mark that. So this is A, B, C, D. After mo magkaroon ng A, B, C, D, ang buy points mo will be initially on the recovery dito sa area na to, or slightly above this area here or itong area na ito. The next one will be on the break dito sa area naman na ito. So that's your next buy area, and then hopefully you get to capture this run up here once it clears yung previous high niya dito sa area na to. So right now it's trying to form another base structure dito sa area na ito. Medyo tight and medyo messy dahil because of the gaps. So all we need to do here is go to our higher time frames and see kung ano ba yung pwedeng gawin pa natin sa kanya and how we can refine yung understanding natin dun sa consolidation niya. So quarterly chart tells us it's case 2, can potentially just trade like this for the rest of the month. Bulls control yung first half of the year. Higher time frame is a potential BTS based on the current range. So ito yung pinaka trigger bar mo dito, bottom end of range natin dito. And then basically what we're playing for here on resumption of yung uptrend niya will be yung extension levels ng FIBO natin sa kanya. So this is how we should be thinking about it. Upside mga $59 on a successful breakout. So this is what they're playing for, at least based on yung signal bar, trigger bar natin on yung 12-month chart. Effective range natin sa kanya, assuming hindi enough itong base formation niya, yung pagiging if it's trying to form a high tide flag here, pagkapusin yan siya and starts to backfill, then we need to continue looking for yung higher low structure hanggang mga 48.74 area na yan. So again, it's a candidate. It's now trading at a major resistance level. It's trading at its breakout point. If it fails, then it's still a valid candidate for us. We just need to pick it up at better levels and try to play for the eventual breakout nito ni MO. And as you can see, we're approaching yung mga ganitong types of trades very differently from how yung textbook approaches it. We're looking at it not just based on yung base structure rules nila, but we're also looking at it from our volatility range point of view, based on our understanding of yung higher time frame candlestick framework natin, because we'd like to capture more upside. We want to be a little bit more aggressive for things that have ideal charts and characteristics. So ganoon natin sila tinitingnan. So si Walter here asking about ascending bases. Take a look at yung tatlong binigay niya examples so we'd have a better understanding mga bagay-bagay. So so this is an example of medyo loosey-goosey na mga transitions. Magulo yung pinaka-transition niya, hindi orderly. Hindi natin gusto yung mga structures na nagbabounce tapos nag-form ng lower highs. Tendency nito mga ganito is magta-triangle yan na may higher low. W structures with higher lows have a higher tendency of failing compared to W structures na may lower low. So kung ganito saan nangyari, then it's easier for us to buy into this and pray for an eventual resumption of uptrend dahil na-flush out yung mga tao dito. So right now, sa kanya, meron kang higher low dito. So let's try to understand kung paano ba, kung ano ba yung upside potential niya at this point. So normally, pagka ganitong structure, ang turo ko sa inyo, pagka formed na yung pinaka BTS niya and it comes off its highs after hitting major inflection points, ang tendency nito will be to just mag-swing lang siya between yung current high niya and whatever low it's able to print. Dahil ang mangyayari dito, throughout the year, mag-form lang siya ng base and then come roll over ng 2022, odds are magkakaroon tayo ng case 2 lang dito sa kanya. At least that's how I'm thinking about it, seeing yung information na meron tayo ngayon dito sa kanya. So kung gano'n, ang assumption na mag-swing trade lang siya, so paano ba natin dapat ito i-trade? So meron ka ng constrained range on 3-month time frame. Ano yung pinaka bottom end of range natin ngayon? Let me just check. So meron ka pang sell signal on the monthly chart. I'm just trying to figure out. So yan yung effective range natin. I'm going to use the high of the signal bar as the bottom end of my range and plot the actual volatility range that we have. So this now is our volatility range. So I'd much rather buy low muna ako sa kanya and just swing trade it for now. It's a messy basing out formation for me at this point. Yeah, that's how I'm thinking about it. I don't think it's an ascending base at dito sa area niya na ito. Unless you're referring to ascending base is yung previous ones, di ba? Kasi pwede mong tratuhin nga itong ascending base. So this is the first push and then second push mo dito. So it is an example of an ascending base in this regard. Di ba? Ang uptrend mo dito, 76%. So more than yung minimum for yung initial structure for an ascending base. So you're right. Ito example siya na ascending base. But itong current structure niya, it's still loosey-goosey, a bit of messy basing out, probably distributive at current levels nito. So PBLBY, so ito yung sinasabi siguro ni Walter. So ito yung ascending base mo. It's much clearer on lower time frames. So 3 pushes na yan siya. So that's done and over with. So ito yung ascending bases. And then it's in a wedge. So this is the third one already. It's potential sell area na ito for those who bought PLBY na ito. And then we just wait for yung next transition niya. Higher time frame, so very similar siya kay Doji or Dog. Hindi ko alam pronounce yun si Dodge. Pero parehas na concept sa kanya. So, BTS siya for the year up to 65. Si Doge USD, very similar. And BTS din siya. So, Signal Bar last year, BTS this year. Gosh. Let's take a look. So, ayan, sending bases, and then third push. Tapos mo-olats na siya dito. Yeah. So, those are mga ascending bases, mga structures na ganyan. Yeah, good examples for those types of trades. So the next question now is, how do we scan for mga structures na to? Ang pinaka-approach ko to this, twofold yan. First one is to just run the models the way we've always run them. But this time, aside from just focusing on relative strength, yung pinakaturo natin sa inyo is to focus on names that are attracting money flow, that are tracking volume, diba? So when we look at our models, so makita mo yan siya ganyan. So when we run our models, we usually filter them based on tail trend, based on EMA rating, based on average slope. But we can add a little bit more sophistication to the way we're scanning for things. We can add, for example, add first an RSI rating. So meron tayo, may nilagay ako dito, sort based on weekly RSI rating. So yung RSI rating similar to our quintile group, kung saan yung values ng RSI rating is between 1 and 5, 5 being stronger RSI value, so largest to smallest. And then what we can also do is add yung ratio, money flow ratio, yung 10 days versus 34 days na the ratio. But we're taking, again, the rating. So 1 to 5 ulit yung value. Higher MF ratio value, the stronger yung 10-day, or the higher the 10-day over 34-day ratio. So largest to smallest. And then we run based on yung average slope natin. So that's yung initial pag-filter natin. And clearly, on our model, ang talagang namamayagpag are yung cryptocurrencies led by itong si Binance, followed by IOTA, TRX, NEO. So these are yung mga high momentum names in our model. So wala nang kailangang pag-usapan pa. Nandun talaga yung leadership, nandun yung pera, nandun yung momentum sa mga trades na to. So we can remove that muna, itong mga cryptos na to, and if we're just scanning for US stocks. So let's go to yung sector filter natin, sector slicer. We click control and then click on yung pinaka sectors that we want to be eliminated. So let's click on control crypto. That removes cryptos. And then we can remove FX para lang malinis yung tinitingnan natin. So again, control Forex. That removes those two sectors, or those two classifications. So ito na yung pinaka stocks dun sa model natin. So from here, we can usually take, dito meron tayong column here, itong H column, kung saan all the symbols have commas after. So just pick out top 100 or top 69. So top 100 of the names on this list initially. And then copy these names. And bakit nandito tong si LTCU? I'll double check. Mali. Mali yung fill up. I'll redo this one. And so top 100. And then from here, copy. And then we go to yung FinViz natin na model. So on FinViz, go to tickers, delete, and then paste, and then run. But before you run, make sure that you order all the names based on relative volume and in descending order. This way, the first sheet will contain stocks that are attracting volume for the day. So you run it like that. And then you'll be able to see kung sino ba yung mga stocks na maayos ang mga itsura. Right now, based on dun sa ginawa nating filtering process na yon, there are stocks that are breaking out. So we were able to ride RFP. RFP, dito natin sila trinade. I was stopped out initially but bought back dito sa area na to. Pero hindi ko na saktin tong surge na to. I was already trimming dito sa area na ito. Dito sa nagpa-post siya dito. So, pero it's now approaching yung top end of range natin, si RFP. Makita mo dito yung mga stocks have bases. They have nice looking charts. So, TX forming a base. So, you can shortlist this, double check it on TradingView kung meron ba siyang pwedeng laruin. Itong new one, we can assess. Right now, it's consolidating gains niya after tong breakout na to. A also has a base. We can evaluate if it can break out from this transition here. Alcoa, meron kang flat base dito. Structure na to, it's breaking out. So again, we're going to be able to trade to mga as they're breaking out. And we can be confident dun sa mga pagpili natin sa mga to. Kasi na-screen na natin sila. Alam na natin that they have their bullish tail trend. They have proper EMA alignment. They have strong weekly RSI values. They're pulling in money flow based on our 10 days, 34 days na rating. And they're comprised of stocks with high slope values dahil sinort natin sila based on average slopes. Kaya natin nakikita ngayon, when we pull up their charts, we see them in uptrends and we're seeing them as they're forming bases, and we're seeing them as they're breaking out. Diba? So it's now much easier to assess. And sa snapshot pa lang ng mga ganito, even without technical indicators, ang mata natin, dapat train na natin kung sino ba yung may mga smiley faces, di ba? Dito, hindi natin siya masyadong papansinin kasi walang klarong mga smiley faces dito sa area na yan. Between JBHT and Dell had a better accumulation area or base structure before it broke out. Same thing with etong si Garmin. Comparing JBHT and this one has a better looking chart. Even kahit in terms of yung hindsight na lang tinitingnan natin kasi same period naman ang kinover nito eh. So between these two, kahit na for the day mas may na-attract na volume itong CJBHT na to, clearly before it broke out, Garmin had better looking chart. We would prefer Garmin over this one dahil messy, hot mess itong consolidation kay Tol. Itong structure na to very similar to sa tinitingnan natin sa trip kanina. So alam natin hindi siya ideal for us kasi hindi nagkaroon ng flush out. But it's trying to form a base. It can be part of our watch list, but for now, it's not yet a priority. We can skip this. Walang discernible structure here. Skip this kasi extended na yung run niya. So ganun, we're refining it. We're shortlisting kung ano ba yung mga interesado pwede tayong maging interesado. We can be interested in IQV if at some point mag-transition siya katulad dito kay SNX na meron kong sideways consolidation and that we can buy into. We're looking for low risk entry opportunities. assets forming bases within the context of uptrends niya. Pag walang ganong klaseng consolidation, there can be no trade for us because there will be no way for us to identify low risk entry points within the context of yung uptrend ng mga ito. So tech, interesting, hindi nagkaroon ng flush out. W structure siya, but it's forming katulad nung nangyari kay ETH or kay Ethereum, di ba? Meron kang higher low W structure kay Ethereum, and then it formed it broke out and then formed the base like this. So this one here, we can try to buy into itong nangyayari sa kanyang ito. So let's double check dun sa chart kung tama yung pinapakita sa atin nung snapshot and yung magiging appreciation natin dun sa kwento on the chart when we pull up yung bigger picture niya. So ito yung structure niya. So ito yung sinasabi ko na pwede kang maghanap dito ng low risk entry point mo despite this W structure here. Kasi may breakout ka. Ang problema mo lang, divergence. But for now, if it can form a base structure here, that's something that we can potentially buy into. I said it's similar to ETH, diba? So ito yung sinasabi kong similarity. So W structure, and then it formed the base as it broke out. So you can buy into this type of base to ride itong run-up niya na ganito. So same situation kay tech. Ay, tama ba? Tech, not tech. So same here. We can try to buy into some type of consolidation here and try to ride kung ano mang pitik na meron sa kanya wherever it may go. Going back dun sa FinViz natin. So let's go through yung mga examples. This one is interesting because it's a cup. We can try to buy a high handle from this breakout here, from this cup. Dito, medyo wedge type, so I'll probably skip this. Ito, nag-breakout na. Again, dito, pwede kang maghanap dito ng high handle structure here that you can buy into after this base consolidation. Scan through the other charts. Click on the arrow. Ito si Levi's. Na-discuss na natin how I traded this. I'm going to skip yung mga charts na masyadong maraming overlaps at saka maraming mga wicks yung candlesticks. Because they're just hot messes for me. I'll probably skip this. Pagka ganitong mga uptrends na tuloy-tuloy, I'll probably skip those names kasi walang low-risk way of entering them once they've established their uptrends. Ayaw natin mangyari yung nangyari kay Disca kasi si Disca steady uptrend, walang puknat na pag-akyat niya, and then na black swan yung mga tao dito kay Disca, di ba? So tuloy-tuloy yan, walang puknat. There were small bases dito, may base ka dito, pero dito sa area na to, no clear way of entering this without yung mga proper base structures na yan. And then ayaw natin mayari ng ganito. Kasi staircase, usually, paakyat, tapos elevator, paminsan tumatalon na lang off the building and nayayari ka. So, iniiwasan na lang natin yung mga ganong klaseng mga trades na yon. So, ito yung example ng hot mess na base consolidation. Diba? Hot mess yan, magulo. And then broke out. We were discussing this. I said I was observing it, how it will transition after it broke out higher. Never took the trade, na-dead siya. Same situation with Disca. Si Viacom, ganun din. Uptrend, tapos yari. So lagi ang hinahanap natin, nice base structures. So right now sa mga banks, meron tayong makita mga base structures na na pwedeng laruin. So yan, napakita ko na kanina si Jeff. So Jeff, Goldman Sachs, ganun din, may base structure ka na pwedeng laruin dito sa kanya. JP Morgan, let's double check kung sire meron. So medyo dito, hot mess kasi wala kang smiley faces, puro mga frowning faces yung mga makita mong structure sa kanya. Now you can double check kung tama ba yung understanding mo on the daily chart by double checking on what's happening on the weekly chart. So here we can see nagkaroon siya ng nag-breakout na siya. So ang tanong na lang naman dito, wala pa kasing retest ng breakout point niya. Tapos meron kang messy consolidation dito. If you're interested in this type of trade, then you need to try to pick it up dun sa previous na breakout point niya na gano'n. So different yung story for JP Morgan compared kay Jeff, compared kay Goldman Sachs. Pinakita ko sa inyo na kung ano yung maayos na consolidation. So Jeff, maayos na consolidation. Goldman Sachs, maayos na consolidation. JP Morgan, pangit na consolidation. Morgan Stanley, ito, may potential siya na mag-breakdown. Una, ma-orderly. Pero isa sa mga gusto kong gawin yung habit, kahit na pa-orderly ang isang consolidation niya, if the consolidation is not rounding enough, pag nagpo-form siya ng mga channel na ganito, ayaw natin yung mga ganitong klaseng consolidation. Ayaw natin nag-channel siya. Gusto natin nag-round siya. Kasi yung mga channels, pagka nag-break, it becomes a bear flag and mabilis usually yung breakdown from these types of bear flags na ganito. Sino pa ba? City. So, hot mess na rin to. Medyo magulo yung consolidation niya dito sa area. Yeah, na ito. I'll probably skip these names. So, I hope klaro. Sino pa ba? Si Schwab. Nabanggit ko na unless they get into crypto, yari itong mga to. So, ito yung makita nyo dito na pagka ang mga consolidation mo, may mga arko na ganito, ayaw natin yan. Kahit pa meron kang mga smiley faces dito sa area na to. Because of the arcs, we don't like arcs. Yari ang arcs. Mga frowning faces, we tend to avoid these types of consolidation. And later on, pagka in-apply nyo yung process natin and you start looking at higher time frames, then it starts to become clear na oo nga, no? Pag arcs, pagka frowny face, makikita mo on higher time frames, meron kang tendency to see mga case 2 ranges that are bearish in nature, that are not constructive at all. That's very difficult to imagine a bullish transition or a transition to case 3 on higher time frames. So, pag nag-arcs, automatic yan. Pag tumingin kayo sa higher time frame nyo, makakita kayo ng mga case 2 na sell signal. Makikitaan nyo na may risk na on the rollover, magkakaroon ka ng case 3 bear. So we try to avoid those types of mga consolidations. Compare that to something like itong MIDD. So W structure siya, but it's orderly. Higher time frame, let's double check. So case 2, pero bullish. Compare that dun sa JP Morgan example na may case 2 ka pero bearish. Higher time frame. So, BTS ka pa on the yearly. So, pwede tayong lumaro dito. Gamitan natin ng FIBO range natin. Overlay natin kung saan nagko-control on the range and then try to prepare for it. So, meron kang range ngayon na ganito. So, what are we playing for here? We're playing for 127.2 Fibo extension. So if it can take out 177, so initially, meron kang breakout of this level here. Pero for a confirmed breakout, needs to clear itong 177, which is our 113 Fibo. And basically, we're playing for an upside on the breakout of around 22%. So ito yung target natin for this. So ito, meron din dito parang cup, handle, breakout. Diba? So ito yung mga first stage base, tapos second stage base, and then third stage base. So alam mo kagad, nagmamature na yung yung mga base structures as they form at higher levels. Pero right now, it's still tradable. It's well-behaved. If you double-check yung volatility niya, makikita mo dito, ATR is declining. And that's always a bullish sign. Pag price is nakikita mo, nagpo-form ng mga smiley faces on declining ATR value. Pag nag-break na siya on the range, dapat okay yung magiging galawan niya. That should move fairly well on the breakout. And that's what we're also looking for, di ba? Pag nakahanap kasi tayo ng mga base structures na maayos yung consolidation and we're trading the breakouts, mabilis lang yung waiting time natin compared to pag hindi tayo nag-focus dun sa mga ganitong structures na to, hindi natin talaga malaman kung kailan ba gagalaw itong mga ito na mabilis. Compare that to with when we're trading yung mga malaki masyado yung naging correction. Let's say we're trading Tilray on the pullback. Tilray, alam natin, malaki yung naging correction na niya. So yung pag-angat niya to retrace kung ano yung inilaglag niya will take much longer compared to when we're trading stocks that are trading near highs, di ba? And have orderly consolidation. So mas maganda kung dito siya nag-consolidate dahil on the break or on completion ng accumulation dun sa base na yun, mabilis yung akyat compared to a trade like this. Mayat-maya na lang may untog. Mayat-maya na lang nagre-retrace back to the bottom end of the range. Unless we get yung timing natin on higher time frames correctly, then we're going to be frustrated trying to trade or swing trade mga ganitong klaseng malaking correction on names that previously run up strongly. Diba? So right now, itong si Tilray, pag tinignan mo yung quarterly niya, nandun yung problema. Problema niya is on the transition dito sa second quarter natin na to, we got a case 2 bear. And lagi kong turo sa inyo, let's stay away from case 2s, especially case 2 bears. Because while hindi naman magko-collapse ang mga case 2 bear, hindi rin natin malaman kung kailan ba matatapos talaga yung pinaka correction niya versus yung previous range niya. Matatapos ba siya sa 50%? Or in this case, since below 50% na siya on the range, matatapos ba siya on 50% of the 50%? So, dito ba pwede natin siya pulutin? Or dito pa, magre-retrace ba siya all the way here? Obviously, hindi siya abot dito sa area na to, pero as long as it hasn't pivoted on some higher time frame candlestick, like say the monthly or even the weekly, then there's nothing for us to do here. May hirapan tayo sa kanila. Kaya iwasan natin sa kanila. So again, we're putting yung mga concepts that we've discussed together, refining our understanding. I'm forcing you now to specialize on trades that are near highs, forming bases, because they're much easier to trade. Kaya natin inaaral itong mga base structures na ganito. So I hope, Clara. Yan. And as you go through yung filtering process natin, and as you go through yung FinViz na workflow ko, mas madali nyo nang makita kung nasaan ba yung mga maayos na mga charts, nasaan ba yung mga potential na mga trades. Kasi magkakamuka dahil we're filtering based on same set of parameters. So more or less makaka-capture mo same set of charts. Kailangan mo lang piliin yung mga magkakamuka, yung mga maganda yung setup, and then run the FinViz volume scanner, relative volume scanner again to eliminate yung mga ayaw natin ng mga charts. So tanggalin nyo na si Charles Schwab, tanggalin na muna sino pa ba? Si AME, kasi nagcha-channel siya. Ayaw natin ng mga nagcha-channel ng mga pangalan. This one's interesting enough. Pangit lang yung consolidation dito, pero mukhang malinis naman yung magiging breakout niya dito sa area na to. This one had a double bottom. So if you want to trade this, you're going to have to look for a high handle na pullback. It hasn't pulled back yet. So you'll just have to hope na magkaroon ng high handle pullback on this name. Or ayaw natin yung ganitong klaseng consolidation, nag-V-shape siya, tapos trading near highs, messy yung consolidation na yon. In my opinion, ayaw natin si BAC kasi katulad siya ni JP Morgan, so meron kang mga arco na frowny face looking. We'd like to take a look at BX, although it has already broken out from its base, but it's looking much better compared to something like BAC. DKS, interesting yung consolidation niya dito sa area na ito, pero this one's a hot mess for me. So lower probability for me itong ganitong klaseng trade kasi hindi malinis yung naging base structure niya dito. Yeti is interesting. Solid run up here. Tapos nagkaroon siya ng base structure before broke out again. Pero tapos na yung initial breakout niya. So you'll just have to wait for yung transition niya. But you can have it on your watch list. Jacobs, interesting enough. Ito yung example siguro na ascending na bases. So ascending. So it's trying to form a flat base siguro dito sa area na to. So again, it's interesting. So copper, same situation. Dito naman may A, B, C, D ka. Higher low here. So this one can be traded too kasi nagkaroon ka ng double bottom structure, higher low here. So kailangan mo lang makahanap ng low risk entry point on the right hand side of the chart. So again, it's much easier. It's mas masaya siya when you're doing your watch list kasi you get to see everything side by side. Ito si Oracle, nahuli to ni Benedict. He's highlighted this prior to formation, itong formation nga ng cup na ito. He already highlighted this. So you have it gap down, formed an orderly base, allowed sellers to exit. Tapos meron kang handle dito sa area na to before breaking out higher. So ganun siya. Ganun yung process natin. Mabilisan lang. Mas madali nang tumingin and mag-analyze kung ano ba yung dapat natin na mga tinitingnan ng mga charts if you do it this way. And then once you've refined yung list nyo, you run the filter again and then copy-paste yung mga pangalan na to. So just double-click nyo lang to highlight everything that you like, copy, and then go to TradingView. Balik tayo sa TradingView. And then post them. Gawa kayo ng watch list nyo. So, watch list. And then plus, copy paste, Control V, enter. And that's now your watch list. Siyempre, mas may clean listahan nyo. Pero at least for the day or for the week, alam nyo na, ito yung mga tinitingnan yung mga pangalan. Alam nyo na that you're looking for volume, you're looking for breakouts, you're looking for yung mga base accumulations na inaaral natin kanina. So I hope klaro sa inyo yung pinaka-framework, yung pinaka-workflow, and how we go from yung quant models natin to FinViz to TradingView. let's start. I want you all to specialize talaga dito sa ganitong klaseng approach. Kasi mas masaya siyang i-trade compared to not specializing in any type of in any setup na nag-aan tayo, nagsa-style drift tayo na sometimes nagbo-bottom pick, sometimes nag-swing trade, sometimes basta kailangan ito na yung edge, di ba? Yung pag-refine natin ng paghanap ng mga trades that are trading near highs and about to break out. And if we can extract 10, 15%, 20% on yung mga breakout trades na to, or even higher pagka early basis yung mga ma-identify natin, then that should more than make up for any small cuts that we do for every time there are failed breakouts on things that we like. All right, guys. May questions ba on process, on what I've discussed so far? Klaro ba sa inyo? May nakita ba kayong magulo dun sa process? Anong comments nyo dun sa process? Tingin nyo ba matutulungan kayo ng ganitong klaseng specialization na pinipilit ko sa inyo on looking at momentum leaders and refining kung ano yung mga tinitingnan nyo dapat? The other thing lang pala siguro before I let you go and before we discuss yung mga opportunities sa market is that there will be instances na we cannot trade yung pinakamalalakas on a relative momentum basis. There will be instances kung saan yung merkado natin will not cooperate and will not allow us to trade yung mga high flyers kasi nagkaroon ng rotation out of mga growth stocks, nagkaroon ng rotation into value the way nagkaroon ng rotation na ganon March and April. Pagka ganon, ang kailangan lang natin gawing tweak is kanina pinakita ko sa inyo na ang ito yung custom sort na ginamit natin, di ba? Ang tweak lang na gagawin natin dito will be to reduce yung slope values ng mga tinitingnan natin. So kung typically ang interest natin ay mga stocks with average slope values that are greater than 100. So itong dalawang grupong ito, sila yung relative strength leaders natin. When they are not working, pag yung mga high tight flag natin, pag mga TODA bases, pagka may mga mini cups na consolidation tayo, when we trade them and they fail, or worse, hindi sila gumagalaw dahil nasa iba pala yung galawan, all you need to do is reduce the average slope values that you filter for. Ako, ang sweet spot for me is yung 38 to 100 na mga pangalan pagka nagkaroon ng rotation out of yung mga growth names. While you can still try to look for potential trades dun sa 0 to 38 na average slope values, I would prefer that you first focus on yung mga 38 to 100, especially those that are bullish tail trend. So, ganun yun na lang muna i-filter. At least alam mo na mga high momentum value pa rin itong mga stocks na to. And if they're pulling in money, if they're attracting volume, then you can just start looking. Then they can generate returns for you. So dito makikita mo na kagad offhand dito sa 38 to 100 slope value, nandyan si Levi's, nandyan si Oracle, nandyan si GS. So nandyan sila sa top names. So makita mo rin dyan, nandyan si Google. So you just go through down the line and run the same process that we discussed. Everything. So ganun lang So papakiramdaman natin. Kasi hindi hindi porket nagsispecialize tayo dun sa talagang malalakas na mga pangalan, ibig sabihin, pag nag-rotate na yung market out of these names, hindi tayo mag-respond accordingly. Meron ako mga traders na kilala na nung nagkaroon ng rotation into value, nung nagkaroon ng rotation to yung mga lower tiered na relative strength leaders, hindi na lang sila nag-trade hindi sila nag-rotate actually. Pinilit nila to trade high growth names. Yung mga stocks that have average slope values na matataas talaga. And they got chopped up. I tried that initially. Marami kong cuts dahil hindi gumagana yung mga akala kong gagana dun sa nung nag-breakout na finally or natapos na yung downtrend ng tech. Nag-rotate ako sa mga growth stocks, hindi nag-work. Ang nag-work, mga large cap na mga pangalan. Yung mga large cap, in this case, dahil ang tagal ng consolidation nila after nung run-up last year, sila yung nag-work. Sila yung nag-recover ng 50-day moving average nila and started moving higher. So, nandito yun sa 0 to 100 na average slope value. So, yun yung pinaka-tweak na na-explore nyo pagka hindi gumagana yung mga pangalan sa mga high growth names, yung mga high momentum stocks na nilalaro natin. So, that's it. Yun yung process. I hope klaro sa inyo how I think about it, how I use our models, and how I use FinViz to scan quickly yung mga magagandang charts for me. I think with this process, mas magiging maganda ang experience nyo when trading US equities. Ano pa ba? Ano pa ba kailangan kong discuss with you guys? So, tinatanong nyo dito, si Terence tinatanong oil. Ano bang tingin natin sa oil? Let's take a look at yung oil Brent chart. Haven't seen it in a while. So, oil crude. So, W structure, relatively tight, trading near the top end of range. I'm not a fan yung mga ganitong klaseng structures kasi nga nag-W siya. Sabi ko sa inyo kanina, mas gusto ko yung malilinis. Or kung magda-W man siya, maganda yung spacing between the legs na tipong ganyan, no? Pagka clumped up na ganito, automatic yan, ang risk dito will be a lower high kasi at pwede siya magkaroon ng type 1 correction on a W structure. So while we can buy type 1, you can't buy momentum sa ganitong type of trade. This type of W is very different from yung ETH-USD nga, kung saan evenly spaced. So I think ibig sabihin na evenly spaced. May spacing versus yung ganitong walang spacing between the two bottoms. Kung sana nag-lower low siya dito, then you have a double bottom. You have a flush out that can generate quicker momentum dahil na flush out nga yung mga tao. But right now, walang flush out nangyari. It formed a higher low, pero it hasn't broken out yet. Again, higher time frame, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So itong structure natin, so you have a potential BTS this year, pero dahil sa laki ng inakyat niya this year, odds are it's not going to break out just yet. It's going to be stuck between 48 and high 67 for the rest of the year. If ever it's going to move higher, that's a story for next year. And I can give you some type of confirmation when you look at dun sa view ko nito, when you look at yung mga oil stocks. Because oil stocks, after rallying together with financials, nung nagkaroon ng value rotation nung first quarter, latter part of first quarter, naubos. Pag tinignan mo yung model natin, pag pumunta ka dun sa sa what's his face? pagka pumunta ka dito, although hindi nyo pala makikita pa kasi kakadagdag ko lang ng sector ETF. Pero if you pull up yung sector ETF, let me just clear itong mga filters natin. So if you click on sector ETF, kailangan ko unclick. Clear ko na nga lang. Clear. Para ma-clear yung mga filters, just go to sort and filter and then clear. And then you click on sector ETF. On an absolute relative slope basis, makita nyo if you rank based on average slope, makita mo XOP and XLE among the top sector ETFs or mga sector-based na mga symbols dun sa model natin. So, dapat malakas sila, di ba? But in terms of yung 5 days versus 1 month momentum model mo, makikita mo, they started to lag. Isang buwan na silang naglalag compared to the others that are doing well on a 1 month momentum basis. So XLE and XOP are lagging. And when we double check on the charts of the different oil stocks, including these two sector ETFs, XLE, start off with that. Makita mo on the daily, kita mo kinakapos. So it's trying to form a W. Let's see if it's going to print a flush out here. But clearly, it's struggling dito sa area na to. So it needs to form a flush out. Mag-double bottom siya ng ganyan. And then recover. We can trade it here on the recovery. But right now, wala pang ganon. So, katulad ng tingin natin dun sa oil, it's just going to be in the range. So XLE, XOP, same situation I think. So mas malala pa nga itsura nito. So let's see if it can form a flush out. And on the double bottom, yung pinaka nakita kong flush dito will be hanggang 127.2 na Fibo. So if you're bullish oil and you're trying to trade itong either XLE or XOP, ang hahanapin mo dyan for a double bottom is dito siya undercut siya 76 and then it needs to hold firmly hanggang 72.08 lang na yan. So that's what you need to look for. So this is a double bottom. Kailangan mo dito mag-flush, trap the bears, and then recover. You take the trade here or here based on the rules that we discussed earlier. But right now, it's still under pressure. There's nothing for us to do here other than observe it. We can look at yung other oil or energy names. So let me pull some of them up. Tama ba to? SM ba? Tama, di ba? SM is an energy company. Ito medyo distributive yan yung structure niya. Hindi ko kilala yung mga oil company. Sino ba si Chevron? CVX. So same picture. So it needs to print that flush. 3 months is case 2 constrained. So kailangan niya. Meron siyang room to move a little bit lower and then just transition into a bullish range by the third quarter. So in all likelihood, if we're going to trade oil stocks, that's more of a 3Q thing than a 2Q one. There are far easier trades this quarter. And so iwas muna tayo on oil this quarter. Shell, sige, tingnan natin si Shell. Shell, different story, broke out, pero ang problema niya ay, let's double check divergence. So slightly divergent, but not particularly concerning. Let's double check higher time frame. So Shell's doing much better. Yeah, definitely doing much better than yung iba in the sector. Ano lang yung upside? I'm trying to define yung upside natin for this trade. Defining bottom end of range. So wag na tayo mahiya. Let's I'm going to treat this as the top end of range. Yeah, it looks much better. This one's viable. Ang tanong na lang, ano bang klaseng base structure yung nilalaro natin sa kanya at this point? It's unclear to me kung anong klaseng base structure. Right now, it's attempting to do this high handle thing. Not sure yet. Hindi ko alam kung paano pa siya i-trade. But it's definitely doing much better. And looks a little bit promising. Walang clear na ano eh. Siguro ako, kung madadaan sa dasal, kung saan ako pupulot sa kanya, I'd probably say that I'll try to pick it up near 13. So if given an opportunity, kung mag-pull back siya the way I'm seeing oil trade now and other oil stocks trade now, I'd pick it up near 13 for a higher low. And then just pray for an eventual move higher. Yeah, that's how I'm going to trade this. Again, it has better looking chart compared to yung relative strength leaders. Kasi relative strength leaders nga is yung SM, si Matador ba? Ano bang klaseng kumpanya to? Energy rin kasi. Madumi yung sector filter natin. Mix energy and yung mga oil companies. Hindi ko alam kung anong mga negosyo nitong mga to. So energy materials, oil and gas production, itong si Matador, itong ganitong klaseng consolidation, it's probably going to fail. Hindi siya magbe-breakout higher kahit na mukhang maganda siya. I can't explain why, pero parang ganun yung lagi kong nagiging sense sa kanya. Case 2 range din siya, so it's not going to run away. So I'd much rather just observe. Yun yung yun yung isa sa mga natutunan ko. Just listening to, nakalimutan ko ang pangalan ng isang in-interview ni Keith McCullough, yung babae na world poker champion. And may book siya. Pero basically ang pinag-usapan nila noon na when we're trading, hindi tayo dapat all in or all out. I'm not saying, yung when I say all in, hindi ibig sabihin nilagay natin lahat ng pusta natin in one basket. That's not the all in I'm talking about. It's more of when we're deploying capital, when we're entering a trade, when we're instead of entering a trade in tranches and tranching based on new information that comes to us, we don't necessarily have to do that. We don't necessarily have to go in pasok agad with everything that we have or everything that we're planning to allocate in one go. Kasi you're depriving yourself of new information. So for a trade like this, ang sinasabi ko lang, it looks strong on a relative strength and absolute sense basis. It's trading near highs, but there's this feeling in me that tells me that I can wait and just observe and wait for more information before I deploy, before I tranche into this particular trade. Kasi nga, ayaw natin na, okay, may nagustuhan tayo, may buy signal na, ayan, may buy signal ka on the daily, di ba? Pero, pag pumasok ka doon, tapos nilahat mo na kagad yung pusta mo, tapos mali, then mali kagad. Malaki yung, mas mataas yung probability that you'll be wrong because you did not allow more information to come in first before you deployed your capital. So parang ganun Ganun ko siya mas na-appreciate ngayon. And that's what I want you to try to learn and understand. You have time. Time's on your side. You need to use time to allow for more information and then act once everything is properly aligned. What else? Ano pa bang gusto nyong pag-usapan? Again, yung energy, parang dicey pa right now. I was looking at tong si PDCE, another relative strength leader, top 5. But as you can see, yung consolidation niya after hitting highs, nagcha-channel siya, and odds are it's going to be a hot mess for now as it tries to fix yung or consolidates its gains. So what do we do now for yung totoong relative strength leader this year, which is of course yung crypto market na yan. Ang tinitingnan natin muna dito is of course the BTC. So let's take a look at BTC USD. So Bitcoin, problema natin, perennial problem natin sa kanya, which is why we've been hesitating repeatedly, even though we bought into it, we sold it quickly as soon as divergence materialized, as soon as it was unable to break in 65K level na to because of divergence, because of low RSI value. Yun yung problema natin sa kanya. New highs are not being confirmed by higher RSI values. That's our problem with BTC. So far, our concern for crypto not materializing. Hindi siya, may mga cryptos na umakyat pa 10, 20, 30% since we've expressed concern na may bearish divergence sa kanila, na sentiment becoming extremely bullish, that yung listing ni coin hasn't been exactly the kind of catalyst na ina-expect ng mga tao. But so far, hindi naman tayo sobrang naiiwan. Meron tayong mga binenta ng maaga, pero it's retracing now. And that's my primary concern now, especially when I look at yung mga major ones like ETH and BTC. So ETH, same situation, it attempted to take out itong 2,500 na level, pero it was not accompanied by a strong RSI. It was not, yung RSI was unable to re-enter parabolic. So may divergence tayo. Yung count din natin on yung RSI, yung full cycle natin, it's there. The count's there. Hindi lang nagbe-breakdown pa yung presyo, hindi lang nagkakaroon pa ng sell signal on any of the coins that we're tracking. So objectively speaking, based on yung data, everything's fine. Walang problema. Pag tinignan mo yung dashboard natin, pumunta ka sa crypto watch natin, makita mo EMA rating, all A's, 4/8, all green, wala pang sell signal sa kanila. So walang problema, objectively speaking. Let's take a look at under the hood. Ano ba nangyayari sa BTC USD, for example? Dito mo makikita yung konting problema sa kanya. On an absolute basis, average slope, very strong pa rin. But on a relative strength basis, yung average slope nila, mataas pa rin. Pero makita mo, all Clino momentum indicators falling across different duration, across different time frames. That's not a sign that it will be able to break out higher or lead out for now. So yun yung problema natin sa kanya. Same situation with ETH-USD. So same situation, kinakapos din siya. Kaya tayo, parang daga, trading in and out dito kay ETH. Even though we're extremely bullish sa kanya. But for the rest, wala namang problema pa. Other than, pag nag-breakdown si ETH, pag nag-breakdown tong si BTC, baka dumamay pati yung mga altcoins sa kanya. But right now, ano ba itsura nung pinaka-leader natin year to date? Itong si Binance. So Binance din, nagkakaroon ng slowdown sa momentum ito ni Binance. Although money flow has been extremely strong, and it benefited from yung listing ni coin, because now they can now assign a value for Binance because they have roughly the same business, itong si Binance at saka itong si coin na ito. Anong gagawin natin ngayon? Ako, ang ginagawa ko sa kanya, sa crypto space, I'm just waiting. And I'm just observing for now. Ang iniintay ko dito will be a rollover in May. I think May will tell us kung dapat ba tayong maging aggressive na ulit buying into cryptocurrencies, especially on names that we like, or meron ba tayong time? Kasi the rollover, if you look at yung monthly chart, let's go back to yung trading view chart ko. If you look at etong BTC una, so let's take a look at BTC. Let's do this monthly chart. Makita mo, nagdo-doji siya ngayon. So, April, patapos na yung buwan, nagdo-doji pa rin siya. So, rollover ang iniintay natin sa kanila, sa kanya ngayon. Rollover ng May. Pagka by May, makitaan natin the bulls control the range and they're able to assert control like this, then we have no choice. Pag the bulls control yung May transition at patungan nila ng ganyan and they're able to defend this line here, no choice. You need to buy high and ride kung anumang breakout mangyari by June. But if by May, magkaroon tayo ng rollover that's below and the bears are able to push price below this level here, itong 55,148 level na yan, then makakahinga tayong konti, pwede tayo mag-antay for at much lower levels. 3-month chart, makita mo rin, it's a tight range. So hanggang end of June, pwedeng mag-tight range lang ito, si Bitcoin. Now, the reason why corrections for now will be limited is because of the 6-month chart which is controlled by the bulls. So kung maghahandaman tayo ng pullback, kunyari mag-pullback ng May, ang pwede natin gawin is to use the open of the 6-month range as our support. Resistance will be, pwedeng gamitin yung open for this or yung low ng range na to. But just to be consistent with how we do it, ito yung effective range na paghahandaan natin sa kanya. So yan yung range, overlay vol range. And then, isa-isahin natin to. Tingnan natin dito. Obviously, pangit yung magiging transition pag nandyan siya. Tingnan natin dito. And then, etong area, mid-range. So, ito yung immediate range na pwede nating paghandaan sa kanya. Kung sakaling mag-roll over nga siya, the way we expect it by May. So, let's see kung anong pwede natin gawin ngayon sa kanya. Now, doon sa mga gusto naman natin na coins, katulad ni ETH-USD, ano ba yung pwede natin gawin sa kanila? So, same process. So, 6 months. Ito yung bottom end of range. 3 months, lagay natin dito yung top end of range. So, we're assuming that the bulls are in full control of the second quarter. Ito yung range natin ngayon. So, right now, just doing that math exercise on ranges, makikita natin may resistance talaga sa 2488 based on fib extension. Walang sell signal pa. So, abang tayo dito sa area na to or dito sa area na to for some basing out structure. Hindi nagkaroon ng flush out dito. Higher low nangyari. They need to defend itong 1916 area na yan to avoid any type of a deeper sell-off. Again, we're just going to have to walk ourselves through the levels and ranges and prepare for yung mga signals na hinihintay natin. What's clear to me is for names that I do like that we do like, yung katulad ng XLM USD. So XLM USD, nagkaroon ng variation versus yung Bison na fractal script ko, instead of it forming a lower high here like I was expecting and undergoing a correction thereafter, it has formed a higher high. But on that's not confirmed by momentum at all. So meron divergence here, higher high here, but it doesn't change yung risk sa kanya na magkaroon siya ng deeper correction on the rollover ng May and June. So ang gagawin ko, range, and then I'm going to walk my way down the levels and see kung kailan ba siya kung magkakaroon ba na siya smile dito, or kung deeper correction ba siya the way we're hoping and expecting for cryptos to undergo. So dito ang susunod kong abang sa kanya. And then after kung magkaroon man ng correction, kung tama tayo, at they start forming bases at key levels, whether it's here or something more sinister like here, then that's an opportunity for us to back up the truck, buy everything that we can get our hands on, and prepare for a massive run. Massive run. Once they flushed out sentiment here and form bases here, magtotoda yan. Mas malaki pa yung iaakit niyan. Hindi mo na makikita sa chart yung itong base na to once matapos itong structure na to the way I expected to. Yun yung pinaghahandaan ko. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it at levels that I like. But I do know that I'm not going to be left behind by this, or at least I'm hoping hindi ako maiwan nitong run-up niyang to. So I'll still be observing mga transitions niya dito sa areas na to. But for a name like this, ang hinahanap ko is yung flush out, yung correction, and then a reset for that monster move up na yan. Si Dodge na ito, ano ba tsura niya? So, higher time frame, kita mo, bullish candlestick with a wick. So, tapos, it's being supported by this cute little tiny candlestick here. So, alam naman natin na pagka maliit, yung sumusuporta sa malaki, hindi yan magtutuloy-tuloy. So, odds are, we're going to get a case 2 range sa kanya. So if trip nyo, pero kahit mahirap yan, laruin, then expect na kung saan man yung maging close niya by the time mag-roll over tayo ng end of April, mag-May tayo, yan yung resistance nyo. Just swing trade the hell out of it. Dahil yun yung natural tendency niya. And normally, pagka yung based on yung study natin ng CE5, ang magiging transition nito 2 months worth of of consolidation with downward bias before it gets to fix itself up by the third candlestick. So kung 2 months yan, so May, June, and then July, dapat pwede na niya ulit ayusin yung sarili niya at umakyat siya ulit. Dahil kailangan niyang mag-form ng base after this big run-up, dahil itong 2 cute lang na ito ang sumusuporta sa kanya based on our CE5 framework. Ganun yung natural tendency ng ganito. How about the others? The others less clear to me paano yung magiging transition nila. Kasi ang nangyari dito sa mga ito, tulad sino ba? Si Zek, which is something that we're bullish on. Ang nangyari sa kanya was double bottom, tapos may brief consolidation dito. Let's break out na. At the minimum, siguro, retrace niya all the way here and then try to form another base structure dito above 188 level na to. I don't know. Hindi ko pa alam kung paano yung mag-transition niya. Other names like XRP. Let's take a look. Lagi, pagka ganito, simulan na lang natin dun sa 6 months, or kung gusto nyo to tighten your range, then you can start with, let's say, this area here, 78 centavos, and then drill down to lower time frames to mark yung resistance level nyo sa kanya. So ito yung effective range mo sa kanya right now. Yan yung range. Overlay Fibo. Kita untog. 184 untog. So if you're interested sa kanya, then you just have to wait for it here or itong piso. That's psychological support sa kanya. Tapos swing trade nyo na lang muna. 1 peso to 184 dito. Okay. XRP. Sino pa ba? Dash. So, ganun din yung problema nito. Pero ito yung excellent example of a double bottom. So, ito yung A, B, C, D. May flush out ka dito. Dito yung pinaka-buy pivot mo sa kanya to be able to run up here. This type of trade. I tried to pick this up here. Hindi na hit. Hindi ko na nasakyan ito. Dito, benta. I tried to pick it up here. Pero hindi ko na nasakyan ulit yung rally na ito. Sino pa ba? Yun lang yung mga trinade ko. The rest, nakanganga lang ako sa kanya. So ito yung naging problema din for ADA. I think we were discussing this dun sa ADA thread. Diba? I was asking, we have declining momentum, we have declining volume, declining volatility. Ano yung resolution nung consolidation na ito, diba? So far, it attempted to break out, pero walang strong run eh, diba? Pero kung talagang matino siya na consolidation, dapat zoom na yan eh. Zoom up, zoom higher na yan eh. Pero that's not what's happening. Instead, medyo hilaw eh. Hindi maganda yung ganong klaseng galawan after yung gantong prolonged consolidation. So I'm still convinced it's going to correct together with the other coins once matapos yung bullish sentiment dito kay Doji na ito. And even if you look at yung higher time frame niya, makita mo case 2 range, it's also detached. So it needs a little bit more time to fix itself up for more meaningful move. Remember yung framework natin on cups, di ba? Kahit na merong chance na yung mga cups na ganito to break out without a handle, those types of trades have higher probability of failure. What more for a trade that hasn't even broken from the cup yet? So yeah, it's right now. Yeah, it's not my favorite setup, so I'd probably avoid it for now. Kahit na maganda yung story, I think some of you are really tracking yung story and doing very well tracking itong Cardano story na ito. Pero I just think it needs to consolidate a little bit more. Sino pa ba? VET. Hindi ko kilala si VET. Ano yung VET USD ba yan? Ano yung full ticker? Hindi ko kilala yan. ZIL. Sorry, hindi ako crypto. So ito yung mga pinag-usapan natin kanina, yung mga hot mess consolidations, di ba? So even if it's trading near highs, basta nakakita kayo ng mga channel, mga upward sloping channels na ganito, that's not bullish. Pagka bullish ang isang bagay, hindi channel ang galawan yan. Dapat rarara ang galawan yan, hindi channel eh. At least in my experience, hindi ako fan ng mga nagcha-channel ng mga ganyang mga stocks. Ang problema sa channel kasi, pagka nag-break yan, ang bilis ng lagapak ng mga trades na ganito. Kaya iniiwasan natin sila. Higher time frame analysis, kita mo, case 2, detached, effective range, bottom end of range ko to. So, ang problema nito will be magmamanifest 2H or 3Q. doon mo siya makikitaan ng problema. But for now, they can continue to just milk the range. Pwedeng gatasan lang muna itong range na to. Ang pwede nilang gatasan dyan, itong area na to. Kasi may resistance kasi 23. Pwede kang mag-support dito sa 146, tapos gagatasan nila yan. And try to negate some of the bearish divergence na meron ka. So kung trip nyo yan, then you just swing trade. But don't expect it to just move higher. Dahil walang base consolidation na matino eh. Meron kang makitaan dito. Ito yung base, high handle, breakout, and then channel. Doon ka sa channel nagkaroon ng problema dito eh. Diba? So ako, avoid ako sa kanya. So, VET USDT. Okay. VChain. Oh, daily pa lang. Kita mo na kagad yung problema, di ba? So, assuming mo, yan yung yung tinitingnan mo lang na time frame, kahit ito lang muna in your range mo. So, 15 to 27 plus ang range mo sa kanya. You don't buy here. You buy close to the bottom end of the range and then you just swing trade and hope that it forms some type of base. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina, pagka walang base, walang trade. So, kung gusto nyo siya, you wait for a base. So, maghanap ka dito ng A, B, C, diba? Or a zigzag, or a retest of support. Kasi nandiyan yung support eh. Yan yung immediate support mo. So, mag-range lang yan siya for now. Walang problema on the weekly, walang problema on the monthly. Wala rin problema on 3 months. So swing trade ka lang because the daily sucks. And this is your range. Lakas pala nito, ano? Wow. So you look for a base. So ang trabaho mo ngayon, just look for base. Ito yung range. So hopefully magkaroon ka ng orderly exit dito. So magkaroon ka ng ganyan. That's what you look for. Yeah, iwas tayo sa channel. Basta makakita ka, uptrend, tapos breakout, tapos nag-channel, iwas tayo doon. Kasi hindi, pagka malakas ang stock, hindi nagcha-channel. Never nagcha-channel lang ang malakas. Ang malakas, ganito galaw. Hindi yan channels, that's a spike. Pagka channel, gumanyan. Yan. Pag nabali yan, yari tayo dyan. Alright guys, let's stop here. I think maraming tayong discuss. I'll provide you with more examples of base structures in the coming days. I'm just building up my library of things. I hope okay tayo sa mga pangyayari dito. May pahabol si Julia. Sige nga, tingnan natin. Curious din ako. Kay PRMX. Since this is one of our one of the relative strength leaders that we like for the Philippines. So let's pull up lang yung chart on PRMX. Si PRMX, ang problema niya ngayon, walang base na after it broke out and moved above yung 290 na resistance na pinag-uusapan natin. It's also trading near the top end of my trading range. Kaya hindi ko pa siya nilalaro ulit. Hindi ko pa siya nababalikan dahil nga doon. So let me just pull it up. PRMX. So ito yung volatility range na meron tayo sa kanya. Ang range ko is 369 and 270 na bottom end of range. We're seeing some selling dito sa 335 and up na area. Ito kahit hindi ka mag-drill down sa lower time frames, mararamdaman mo umaarko na yan. But if you drill down to lower time frames, mas makikita mo na umaarko yan siya. So yan, arko. Those are not bullish structures. And the risk now is magkakaroon tayo ng head and shoulders sa kanya intraday. And that's good for us who are still trying to buy it back, but not good for those who have position and who are hoping that it'll continue to move higher. So tayo, antay lang muna tayo sa baba. Hindi ko pa alam kung saan siya pwedeng mapulot. In case na mag-transition nga siya into a head and shoulder structure, then we can try to pick it up. Hopefully, dito sa area na itong 254 area na yan, I'd be happy to pick it up there sa mga 253, 244 area na yan. Mag-switch lang siguro ako ng strategy. Assess ko lang siya ulit kung hindi niya kayanin, kung maging mas malalim yung correction at mag-break below siya 244. Because below 244, meron ka ng lower low versus this low here. So, ayaw ko siyang bumagsak below 244 na on any correction. So, ang gagawin ko, antay ako sa kanya dito sa baba na ito. And then we'll be looking for basing out again for the next leg up sa kanya. If you look at yung 12-month chart natin sa kanya, makikita mo rin kasi that it's BTS. And we know from experience then, etong 1, 2, 3 down na to is CE3. And this is the trigger bar for this CE3 setup on the yearly. Alam din natin na itong CE3 na ito, after it prints an initial bullish candlestick, will typically have 2 straight bullish candlesticks on that time frame. Meaning, hanggang 2022, pwedeng mag-outperform at umangat itong si PRMX. So it's really just a matter of finding a new setup to buy into on lower time frames dahil case supportive naman siya on the 2021 range. And we also know from experience that the next range after this bullish range will be another big bullish range. So 2022 will be another bullish range for PRMX. So abang lang tayo, sagad 232 because that's the high of the signal bar breakout, diba? So that's how I'm preparing for it now. So ang range natin ulit, kunyari i-refine lang natin. So if I use this as my trading range, ito ang pinaghahandaan natin na volatility range. Ito adjusted volatility range based on what I just did right now. Hope klaro sa inyo ito. Let's stop here. Medyo namamaos na ako at may lakad din kami ni Mrs. Pag-usapan na lang natin yung mining at saka yung views on FX later on. Okay? Thank you very much. Again, kung may questions kayo, kung may clarifications, kung violent reactions, post na lang dun sa MS Teams. Thanks guys. Recorded naman to so marireview nyo ulit. Maraming salamat.